Okay, boys and girls, the Premier League weekend has been and gone, the results are in, now it's time to review them all, so without further ado, let's begin. Only one place to start, and that is probably with the game of the weekend, and it was the Chelsea versus Manchester United game, and Jose Mourinho came within seconds of beating his former club until Ross Barkley popped up with a last-minute equaliser to ensure Chelsea's unbeaten start to the season remains intact. It does mean the Blues lose ground on their rivals in Liverpool and Manchester City, as both teams won their respective games, which we'll get onto a little later, but a slightly below par Chelsea managed to come out with a point against the United side, who came from behind to lead. Antonio Rudiger's header in the first half seemed to set the Blues on their way, but two goals by Anthony Martial in the second half seemed to give United an unlikely victory until Ross Barkley, at the right place at the right time, smashed home Chelsea's equaliser, and from there it sparked fiery scenes on both benches as one member of the Blues staff seemed to let their emotions get the better of them and overly celebrate their goal in front of Jose Mourinho, in which the Portuguese manager reacted badly to. After being separated, things calmed down and the game finished. As stated, Chelsea were below par, Hazard in particular, but Ashley Young deserves special mention here. He was booked very early on, and for the first 20 minutes, Hazard had him on toast. But he wised up to the occasion and managed to keep Hazard quiet for the majority of the game. Also, Anthony Martial, for two great finishes from him, almost set United up for their victory, but unfortunately for them, it wasn't to be. Chelsea fall to third, United sit in 10th following this game. Next, we come to the Manchester City versus Burnley game, in which City managed to maintain their unbeaten record and still stay top of the table after a comfortable 5-0 victory over Burnley. Sergio Aguero got the ball rolling in the first half before a controversial second goal happened in the second half. Leroy Sané went over in the penalty area, but the referee wasn't having any of it. The ball continued rolling and the Burnley players thought that it had gone out for a goal kick. However, David Silva played on and found Bernardo Silva in the penalty area, who fired into the back of the net. Play to the whistle, lads. You taught this as a kid, come on. Even if the referee or linesman was wrong here, still, play to the whistle. From there though, City did take full control as Fernandinho fired in a third, Riyad Mahrez curled in a fourth, and even Sané himself got on the score sheet as he rounded off the victory, sweeping home from Benjamin Mendy's cross. Easily predicted victory here for City. I guess it was just a question of how many. There were a couple of controversial moments, the second goal as stated, but also there was Vincent Kompany's bad challenge on Aaron Lennon in the opening minute of the game, which could have easily been a red card offence. So City can be considered a little lucky on both accounts, whilst for Burnley they can be considered unlucky. Regardless though, it's a good victory for City, plenty of goals too, and also the return of Kevin De Bruyne, which was nice to see. It made it a good afternoon all round. As for Burnley, like I said, they can consider themselves a little unlucky not to get some of the key decisions going their way, but ultimately this was a game that was seen as a free swing anyway. They just have to move on to the next week, and there's absolutely no need to dwell on this result whatsoever. Next we come to the Saturday evening game, where Liverpool travelled to Huddersfield in not quite the goal fest that many of us were expecting, but Mohamed Salah did get on the score sheet with the only goal of the game as Liverpool kept pace with Manchester City at the top of the table. 24 minutes were on the clock when Xherdan Shaqiri played through the Egyptian winger and he finished well to score the decisive goal. It wasn't a great performance by Liverpool by any means, and Huddersfield may feel a little bit annoyed that they weren't able to at least grab a point from this game. They hit the post, saw a goal marginally offside, and then lacked a little bit of composure and quality in the second half when they needed it, as they went in search of an equaliser. The Reds held out, and despite not playing well, they've recorded another win and another clean sheet, and now turn their attention to the Champions League and Red Star Belgrade on Wednesday. Our next game brings us to the Monday night clash that saw Arsenal go against Leicester. Arsenal came from a goal down to beat Leicester 3-1 as Mesut Ozil stole the show with a superb performance. Early in the first half, Leicester were denied a penalty when Rob Holding appeared to handle the ball inside the penalty area, but the referee wasn't having any of it. Leicester did draw first blood on the half-hour mark as Ben Chilwell's effort was deflected off of Hector Bellerin and wrong-footed Bernd Leno in the Arsenal goal to find the back of the net. But from there, Arsenal woke up and took full control. They equalised through Mesut Ozil on the stroke of half-time, and in the second half he was instrumental in Arsenal going on to win the game and helping substitute Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to a brace. First, he split open the Leicester defence to find Bellerin, who found Aubameyang at the far post, and he had the simple task of finding the back of the net. A few minutes later, a lovely flowing team move ended with Bellerin finding Lacazette following Ozil's clever dummy, Lacazette finding Ozil's run, and Ozil passed across the face of goal to find Aubameyang, and he had another easy task of finding the empty net. Ozil was made captain and given the central role, and he ran the show after the half-hour mark. Leicester took the lead and dropped off and were powerless to resist. Arsenal controlled the game after they grabbed the equaliser and then scored two sublime team goals to go ahead and then put the game beyond doubt. There's a real feeling that something special is building here, especially when you see some of the football being played. It's interesting to see how this team copes against the bigger teams, and the opening fixture against Chelsea and Manchester City, by the way, do not count, as they were very early days in Unai Emery's reign as manager. As for Leicester, when you're beaten with these types of goals, sometimes you just have to hold your hands up and say you were beaten by the better team. For half hour though, they were the better team. Maguire forced a good save from Leno. They should have had a penalty, but as soon as they got their goal, it woke Arsenal up. But sometimes that's just how football goes. Next, we come to a real goals fest, as bottom of the table Cardiff picked up their first victory of the season against Fulham in a 4-2 victory at the Cardiff City Stadium. Things started well for Fulham when Andre Schürrle scored a screamer from distance, but their lead didn't last too long as Josh Murphy swiftly equalised. Cardiff then went ahead when Bobby Reid pounced on a loose ball to fire into the back of the net, and then it was Fulham's turn to respond, and they did so just before half-time through Ryan Sessegnon, racing onto Alexander Mitrovic through ball and finding the back of the net. But after the restart, Cardiff took full control. Callum Patterson put the host back in front, and then later on, Kadeem Harris put the game beyond doubt to secure Cardiff's first victory of the season. Relief for Cardiff, but warning signs should be alarming for Fulham over their defensive issues. It's been their Achilles heel all season. There are too many defensive errors occurring within that team, and the other teams are starting to exploit it. They've conceded 12 goals in their past 3 games alone. It's not looking great for the newly promoted club, and they now drop into the relegation zone. Our next game brings us to Brighton's 1-0 victory over Newcastle, in which Beram Kale got the only goal of the game as Brighton heaped more misery and pressure onto the Magpies and Rafa Benitez. Bit of a smash and grab this one. The best chances did fall to the Magpies as Ayoze Perez, Jonjo Shelvey, Muto and Kennedy all had decent opportunities to score, but they lacked that little bit of luck and quality to do so. And also special praise to Matt Ryan's man of the match performance in the Brighton goal, as he was key to Brighton's victory, making several great stops to deny Newcastle as they gain another 3 points. The misery does continue at Newcastle, but hopefully they can turn this around. But let's not have the problems of Newcastle overshadow a decent performance from Brighton and a good win for them as well. And of course, I'm glad that Glenn Murray's okay following his nasty head injury he accidentally suffered during the game. Next we come to Southampton and Bournemouth, who played out a stalemate goalless draw, but the Saints had the better of the chances. Manolo Gabbiadini and Stuart Armstrong had the best chances for the away side but failed to hit the back of the net, whilst the Cherries weren't as bright and energetic as they had been in previous weeks and looked a little off colour, with the international break possibly being a minor reason as to why their flow may have been disrupted. Regardless, both sides got a point apiece, but Bournemouth can feel a little fortunate that the Saints didn't take their chances. On another day, it could have been a completely different story. Our next game brings us to Tottenham's 1-0 victory over West Ham, and Eric Lamella's header was the difference maker on that day as the London derby between Tottenham and West Ham was played out. Lamela met Moussa Sissoko's cross to find the back of the net, but it was really Hugo Lloris who saved the lead and earned Spurs the 3 points here. The Frenchman denied Marko Arnautovic on 3 occasions in the second half as Spurs held on to their lead and moved up to 5th in the table. Unfortunately for West Ham, who not only lacked a little bit of luck on the day when they needed it, but have also lost Andrei Yarmolenko for 6 months after he was taken off injured during the game. As for Spurs, 4 wins on the bounce now as they head into Champions League action on Wednesday night. They haven't been entirely convincing by any means, but they are picking up the points where and when it counts. The penultimate game in this video is the 2-0 victory Watford secured over Wolves. 2 goals in quick succession were enough for Watford to take all 3 points at Molineux as Wolves' 6-game unbeaten run came to an end. Etienne Capoue Capoul's long-range strike drew first blood for the Hornets, and then not even a minute later, Roberto Pereira doubled their lead and they held on to that 2-goal lead and kept a clean sheet to get back to winning ways. Good performance from Watford. They showed signs that their form that they began the season with was slowly returning following a sticky patch in which their form had nosedived a little bit. As for Wolves, they were clearly below par, their energy was lacking, and like I said with Bournemouth earlier, the international break may be a minor reason their flow was disrupted a little. I expect it to be a one-off result, but only time will tell on that prediction. And finally, Everton's 2-0 victory over Crystal Palace. A quick-fire double late on saw Everton claim victory against Crystal Palace, and it was the Toffee substitutes that won them the game. The substitutes that came on were Lookman, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Cenk Tosun, and all 3 played their parts in both goals. First, Lookman set up Calvert-Lewin to head home from 3 minutes from time to break the deadlock, and then later on, Tosun raced on to a clearance and ran through on goal to fire into the back of the net to double Everton's lead and claim all 3 points. Palace will be kicking themselves. They hit the post in the first half and missed a penalty in the second after Jordan Pickford denied Luka Milivojevic from 12 yards. It's a good win from Everton as they now recorded 3 wins on the bounce. As for Palace, I think warning signs need to be slightly beginning to sound there. They are just not getting enough goals right now, and with each passing week, the pressure seems to be going more and more onto the shoulders of Wilfried Zaha in particular, and it's not fair on him. Someone needs to step up in the next few weeks, especially considering that their next 4 Premier League games are against the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham and Manchester United. And that rounds up the Premier League results for the Game 9 of the season. Let me know in the comments section what you made of the games, who were you supporting, what did you make of some of the key talking points from the weekend. I'd love to read your thoughts and opinions down below. Otherwise guys, hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed the videos, hit the subscribe button if you're new or want to see more content like this on the channel or any of the other content on the channel for that matter. Thank you guys for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Premier League review video, and I'll speak with you all again soon in another video.